Now we get to section 3, where we are going to do the AWS EC2 setup. EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud, and this is where we are going to deploy the application which we created in the earlier sections. So in this section, we are going to take a look at setting up the Elastic Beanstalk application, setting up some environment variables, and then a bunch of other activities which you can follow along all these videos. So first thing to do is to go into your aws.amazon.com. So you have already created a free tier account. So what you need to do is, for setting up the Elastic Beanstalk application, first log in, and once you have logged into your console, get into the Elastic Beanstalk link and then open up this particular page. So once you have done this, the next thing to do is just take a look at various options presented on this page. But the first thing we are going to do after you get to this page is to create a new application, which is on the top right hand corner. Go ahead and click that link. It's going to get to the next page where it's going to ask you the application information. So here in the application name, type a meaningful name for the application which we have just created. It can be anything. I'm going to type Spring Boot user CRUD. Okay. So note that you can use hyphens. So it cannot contain a slash. The description is optional. You can enter something. I'm going to enter packed course in Spring Boot AWS. And once you enter your application name and the description, go ahead and click next. When you click next, it's going to take you to the page where it asks you whether you want to create a web server environment or a worker environment. Now we are going to select web server environment because we need to deploy it into web server. Worker environment, you can think of a worker environment as somewhat analogous to, Windows has services, the background processes. In a similar manner, a worker environment you may deploy as you get more experience in AWS. So this is just something which, maybe listens for some messages and processes messages, etc. So for now, click the web server, click next, and then it's going to ask you what is the environment type. So we have in the drop down the predefined configurations, which are much easier to work with because Amazon gives you standard templates for various languages, etc. So what we need to do is pick the one which we need, and so you can select Java. And once you select Java, you also need to go into the environment type and choose whether you want to run a single instance or you want to run a cluster with load balancing, auto scaling, and these type of features. So we are in the free tier allowed to use this single instance, and that's enough for us to practice deploying and getting to the application in production. Load balancing is pretty much what production grade applications, enterprise applications would be using. So select single instance and then go into the next. So the application version which it is going to ask us for is, so this is where we upload a runnable jar. Remember that, which we created in the previous sections. So you need to upload, select the second option. So we have three options here. First is the sample application. Third is the S3 URL. S3 URL is the simple storage service. So you can actually maintain various versions of your jar in S3. And let's say you want to quickly revert to an older version. So you can do all that by using S3. But for us right now, we are going to use the upload. And once you do that, you can go into selecting runnable jar which we have created. Click next, and it's going to go into the page where it asks you some further environmental variables. The environment name which it has given us is Spring Boot user crud-env, and you can maybe name it dev or test or UAT or whatever you want to name it in real-time applications. Environment URL, now this is interesting. This is where your application is going to be exposed to in the production. So click next, and then it's going to ask you whether you want to configure some additional items.